Hey everybody, welcome back to the DLZ Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. Continue our conversation with all the folks that make Delaware County a special place. Economic development, travel tourism, recreation, and community development. Got another great guest lined up for you today, so let's get into it. Nic Langford.
What's up, Tim?
Welcome to the DLZ Podcast.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Good to see you as always.
Yep.
A little bit of history. You've been in the role at Delaware County or City of Delaware.
City, county, same thing, right?
It isn't. We're all rowing the same boat, though, right?
That's true.
But yeah, definitely two different things. City of Delaware, as Economic Development Director.
That's correct.
When did you come into that position? I
came in 2 years and 10 days now, but no one's counting. So
sounds like you are.
No, well, it's been 2 years, so it's been a good 2 years. Good.
And where were you coming from?
I was coming from Virginia, so the city of Suffolk out there.
Suffolk, okay.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, you went to school, undergrad, University of Kansas.
Yep,
is that correct? And then MPA at
University of
Louisville.
Yep.
So we got Jayhawks and Cardinals.
That's correct.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, and now we find you here, so welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. Peace Corps. I see this in your bio.
Yep.
That you did a stint with the Peace Corps, and I don't know, maybe years ago it was probably a little more prevalent, at least from my standpoint.
Yep.
What they're up to, and what did you do exactly with the Peace Corps?
So I was a community health empowerment volunteer in Fiji. So basically we just tried to implement diet and nutrition. To be honest, I ended up just kind of coaching soccer, so that was fun too.
Okay. Well, hey, sports, obviously sports is a big deal in the U.S. So
yep, that's correct.
Creates a sense of community and whatnot. So
that's correct.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate your sense of community for taking that on.
Yeah, and, of course.
Fiji doesn't sound like the worst assignment.
No, it's like, I call it like Australia's Jamaica. So it very much is like, the exterior is beautiful. You have all these really fancy resorts, and then you go like half mile inland, and that's when you see the tin roofs and
right.
Yeah. Right. So it's definitely needs support, but yeah, I had a fun time there. I made a lot of friends.
A lot of tourism.
Oh yeah,
there, tourist based economy probably.
100%.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. We see the pictures in all the magazines of the yep. huts over the water in this beautiful blue water. It's rather remarkable.
It's sugarcane, Fiji water, and tourism.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, as a consumer of the Fiji water, I appreciate them sharing that with us for sure.
Actually, it occurs, the aquifer on top of it is a cow pasture. So if you can imagine, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it works. Yeah. It works. I love the water. So
it's good stuff.
Well, again, thanks for coming in today. We can get into a little bit about economic development. I guess, from your standpoint, you're obviously living this every day. How do you define economic development within the city of Delaware? And, kind of what does that look like for those folks that I know a lot of us hear economic development all the time. And, yep. Maybe some folks do, some folks don't have as much understanding of what exactly that is, yep. based on the fact that they're not living in that world every day.
So the sort of core definition would be increasing the tax base, sort of encouraging sort of just general growth, smart growth, and the equation, what you're trying to equal is a better quality of life for everyone. So economic development, it really depends on where you're at. So like there are some more rural communities, like think of a small sort of town on 64 in West Virginia. Their idea of economic development is they really want to get a gas station or a McDonald's or just some kind of development going on because it might be kind of impoverished. And then you think about like a city like Seattle where economic development for them is they're trying to attract, a Fortune 100 company for their new office, their new headquarters. And where we're at is kind of like in the middle of that, so we've got We have an amazing industrial park, abutting an airport that is, underutilized in my opinion, as you're aware. We have this sort of boutique but robust downtown that is impossible to replicate because it was built over 100 years ago. We have a lot of retail corridors, commercial corridors. So economic development in the city, and I would say that the entire county it's varied. And we have a really healthy mix of just sort of different things going on. And we're growing. So part of my job is to have growth. And so to come into a community that's growing and having to manage growth is really exciting.
Absolutely. I'm sure. Yeah. Growth. I know we see in the paper a lot, and there's a lot of articles about growth and whatnot, but sometimes in some instances, it's a good problem to have where there's communities, Southeastern Ohio, which near and dear to my heart, is having the opposite. They're seeing, people leaving and, their population's declining. What is the population in the City of Delaware now?
So we're just shy of 50,000.
Okay.
So it wouldn't actually surprise me when the new American Community Survey comes out if we're over 50,000. And that's because we constantly have about 4,000 homes in the pipeline, constantly growing. We have a good mix of multifamily. So that's the apartments. We have a good mix of single family that are coming in, and then all of those sort of balance out the commercial and the industrial growth. And it's one of those, you kind of can't have one without the other. So yeah, I would say the growth, it depends on what you're trying to attract. So the term is smart growth. I mean, what does smart growth really mean? It means sort of living within your means, I would say, for what you're capable of, and then trying to make the best of that. So, the City of Delaware, we have our own utilities, we have our own water, we have our own sewer. So, a lot of people are worried about data centers coming in, and I have to say, we're really not sort of the dream site for a data center, for a big hyperscale user that's going to come in and use half of our water capacity. So I've gotten a lot of calls on that. I'm like, hey, after like a 5-minute rant about how everything's bad and, data centers are coming along. And I'm like, yeah, they're not looking here. So we're okay. we're going to be fine. Yes.
Yes. The data centers have been a hot topic as of late.
Yeah. There's different kinds too. So there's the big hyperscalers. So there's the Googles, there's the Metas, there's Microsoft. And then there's the more sort of smaller ones that your hospital will use. They'll go rent a server rack and then they'll store all their data there with really low latency because of the proximity. And those ones aren't bad because they don't really use a whole lot of power. They don't use a whole lot of water, and they kind of serve the sort of general business needs of, whoever's around.
Sure.
So it's just, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and I know, with all the growth, and you mentioned it, having a diversified tax base is important as well, right? We need business industry to produce, to create taxes, but also job creation, right?
100%. So you think about infrastructure cost. So every road needs to be resurfaced 10 to 15 years. It needs to be completely rebuilt about every 30 years. The cost of those things are not going down. So unless the same tax base really want their taxes to increase to pay for those services, to be able to have, water, trash, to be able to flush the toilet, you basically have to bring in new growth that's going to help supplement those services. And without it, you'll see disenfranchisement, you'll see people leaving, you'll see people not coming back, students deciding, hey, I don't want to go back to that community. I'm going to go to Austin or Nashville or something like that. And really, it's that kind of demographic shift of you start losing your younger population. And if you're not having them come back and having that reinvestment, your businesses don't have workforce. Your mom and pop shops no longer have people that are able to come and spend money there. And then it really just sort of hurts the community. So Delaware City, Delaware County, we're on the opposite side of that, where we have a ton of growth. I mean, we're the envy, I would say, of probably just about every community in the state of Ohio, because we're growing. And for the most part, I would say it is smart growth. We are growing within our means, our bounds. We are preserving quality of life. I mean, coming here from Virginia, which has, immense natural beauty, I couldn't find a place to go on a hike or walk. And here I'm 5 minutes away from 3, preservation parks. So I think this area has done a really good job. And I think my goal is just to kind of build upon that and then maybe try to bring some nicer amenities around, maybe win some businesses and, maybe build some new roads and get some new infrastructure going.
We've always felt like Delaware County is unique in the fact that we have such a wealth of natural resources. We have four large reservoirs in county, along with all of this growth. We have 2 state parks, 2 Columbus, the O'Shaughnessy and Hoover, both Columbus, City of Columbus, but also Columbus Metro Parks. So, I'm with you. I feel like there's been a great attempt here to make sure that we maintain some green space through all this growth. And that we do have all these big natural resources right here in our midst.
Yeah, 100%. And you know more about that than I do. So
that is the world I live in, good, bad, or otherwise. But yeah, so I guess the next thing would be is like, what are you most excited about from this City of Delaware standpoint right now in economic development world, or just, the city in general?
We have some really big projects in the works. So, you can't say with 100% confidence that things are going to be launched, but, with 95%, I can say that our southwest area, just south of the airport, there's a mixed use entertainment sports park that's coming online. We have probably the second, third best site for sort of advanced manufacturing there. I think we're going to see some real cool growth over there. And I think within 5 years, people will start saying like, oh, Delaware isn't just a bedroom community to sort of support, general Columbus sort of operations. We'll be a standalone entity in and of ourselves. And I'm really excited about it because I get to come here and work on really cool projects. So anything from, a $4 billion pharmaceutical opportunity to helping out, the coffee shop owner who, just wants some help with their social media marketing or, wants to know what our local demographics are, what they should be doing. So it kind of spans the whole, sort of breadth and depth of the thing. And, every single day I have is interesting, I'll say, which, I mean, for a job, that's what you want. Right? Yeah.
I've been asked the same question. It's like, why would you come up here? You've been a lifelong Pickaway Countyan, but the opportunities here and to work with some amazing folks and some amazing amenities has been fantastic. So, can't say enough about that. I guess, and you alluded to it a little bit in your previous comment, what makes Delaware, the city of Delaware, competitive in this region? I mean, obviously, every community around the Outer Belt, Columbus itself, even, Marysville, Marion, everybody's angling for these projects and things and has their economic development departments working on this. So I guess what makes the city of Delaware shine in that to where, we feel like we can be competitive?
Our workforce is awesome. So over 50%, this is just the city, the county is actually higher. 50% of our population has a bachelor's degree or higher. The population growth is another thing. The fact that the city controls its own utilities, that's definitely another thing. And we have the availability of land, which a lot of places don't. They're landlocked. They're trying to figure out, what building can we knock down to put up another better building? We don't really have that. There's definitely some infill development. So infill just means, there's an existing site, maybe something better could go there that I'd like to pursue. But I mean, for the most part, it's kind of open pastures for cool things to happen, and smart things too. So it's not like, we're keeping up with our housing, our residential growth and demand. But it's not like, the city is out actively knocking on farmers' doors to say, hey, can we put 2,000 homes here? We're not doing that. Pretty much what we're trying to do is maintain our growth boundaries such that the city can have a fiscally sustainable model for not just this generation, but, multiple generations. And then I'd say in regards to sort of attractiveness, for larger facilities, Columbus, the growth, Ohio State, all of our universities. Just even our little old OWU, Ohio Wesleyan, new president doing amazing things, growing the new classes that are coming in, renovating the library. Just all these cool things are happening, and it's right in downtown Delaware. So it's
they just launched an engineering degree.
Engineering degree got launched. I think it was the fastest that they've fundraised and stood up a program. Speaks volumes for kind of what's been needed, I think, and then also just meeting those demands and having really strong executive leadership in that role. They're standing up a real estate development program, which will be cool because a lot of times just finding good developers is hard. And if we're able to grow our own, to incubate developers is crazy. So yeah, I think the future is very bright. There's definitely challenges involved. It's, I kind of view Delaware sort of like a kid that's going through puberty, right? So we might have some squeaky voices here and there, might have an odd hair growing here or there, but like we're becoming, a full grown adult, I would say, in this sort of landscape with our peer cities.
Sure.
So it's a good thing.
Well, I know I was very interested when President Vandenberg talked about launching the engineering department at Ohio Wesleyan. We have obviously Andreil coming in at Rickenbacker, which is 4,000 jobs. Training folks for that. We have Vertiv right here in the headquartered in Westerville. We have facility and county, and amongst all the other folks, PPG and those folks out at the the air park.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I was excited to see that folks in Delaware County are being proactive in that regard.
Yeah.
We don't want to create an intellectual vacuum where, we send our kids off to college and they never come back.
Yep.
We've seen that in a lot of other communities, and it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yep.
We want some of those folks to come back and, add their value to our community and continue to make it better.
So, and to that point, so I was helping teach a course at Ohio Wesleyan for their real estate program, and one of the kids there is from California. And one of the questions I always ask when I do this is like, who's from here? Who plans on staying here and why? Because I'm trying to build this information in my head. And, this kid from LA was like, I'm going back to LA. There's no jobs around here. How am I going to make $100,000 like ever here? And I kind of pulled him aside and was like, you realize that the median household income around here is over $100,000. So most people make that amount of money here. And it just kind of blew his mind a little bit. Because there's really good job opportunities here. There's really good quality of life. We have really good schools. We have parks. There are recreational opportunities. We're 30 minutes from John Glenn, which is expanding. So, as far as I can tell, this city, the region is just on the rise. And it makes my job easy because a lot of times people in the economic development role, they're kind of looked at to sort of, raise all tides. And sometimes that's just not possible for a government entity to do. And so to come into this and then be looked at more as a supplement to make these things happen rather than the catalyst it's really cool. It really is. I don't have a whole lot of doubts about the success of our industrial park. Our main street, our downtown just keeps getting stronger, in my opinion. We might have a restaurant leave, but usually there's a better restaurant or something else that comes down the line. It's all upside. And what's interesting is and I'll just a real small aside is, we're really getting noticed by a lot of out-of-state developers and brokers. And I think that's interesting because when we have people from Chicago or Indianapolis calling to find out what's going on in Delaware, okay, can we come and visit, look at a site? We want to build this, we want to do that. It's interesting because I don't think that message has been totally portrayed to the rest of Columbus, because I think there still maybe is a stigma about, oh, it's Delaware. It's kind of cute and they're doing some stuff up there, but it's largely just a suburban market. And I think we're kind of going through back to that sort of going through puberty comment. I think we're really kind of going through those awkward phases right now where we are going to be a standalone entity, like Dublin is. And I'm just, I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. So on that note, I guess, what are you seeing would be like the strongest, growth opportunities here, maybe the next 3 to 5 years, maybe even out to 10. And that's not only from a business development standpoint, but also maybe talk about, as you mentioned, you taught a class at Wesleyan. What do the young people maybe need to be looking at from, training or education standpoint to take advantage of all this growth? We want them to stay here and work here and find, jobs here. So what should they be focusing on?
I would say STEM. That's not AI replicable because AI is AI. AI is AI. Yeah. So I would definitely say STEM. If you're doing a college degree and you're paying, close to $100K for it, you're going to want to be able to know roughly where, and I'm the worst person to talk about this because English degree, philosophy degree, those were all my majors and I switched so many times. I ended up landing in public administration. But yeah, I would say that sort of STEM would be the way to go. I would not go to law school at this moment. Simply because with AI, pretty much you can kind of replicate most legal advice with AI, and that's only going to get stronger. And then for the city and what opportunities we have, I would say that Southwest district. So that's just below the airport. I think that's really going to take off. And we're going to really be able to start competing for some bigger prospects with our sort of rival neighbors, and not just have it be data centers, but do some actual advanced manufacturing, some biotech, create some headquarter campuses there. And then also with that entertainment mixed use space, kind of have something for all those employees to do over there as well. And then the airport, figuring out what we're going to do with the airports. And the airport's really nice. It's a cute little municipal airport. It makes a little bit of money, which is great. Most places lose money. But I do feel like that's a sort of an undervalued asset for us.
Well, absolutely. Aviation obviously is a, front and center for me. I'm a pilot, so I've flown in and out of Delaware Municipal multiple times. And
you haven't flown me anywhere yet, so
we'll get to that. Maybe we should do a, landing at Delaware.
Yeah.
We could do the podcast in the plane. I don't know if that's even legal, but we'll probably
make that
sit in the back.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pilot in command doing that.
I'll fly the plane.
Okay. Well, that is frightening, but okay. So, to a young person looking at their future opportunities, I know from an aviation standpoint, there is, a shortage of pilots, but some people may not want to go down that road, but also, the tech side of it, aviation maintenance, that's to me something I don't know how AI is going to replicate working on aircraft and, the demand for even if it switches, say, we get into the eVTOL business or what have you, and there's a shift there and the aircraft are flying themselves or whatever, 20, 30 years from now, there's still going to have to be somebody that's fixing these things.
Yes. And I don't think that's troubleshooting is definitely not sort of AI's sort of, mechanism. That's how you end up with a bike wheel on your I don't know.
Well, we've seen AI's renderings of people with 6 fingers and 3 legs or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, it still has to have input to make a good decision. But I think there's my point with any of that is I think there's still going to be a significant demand, in maintenance, even like auto body. I read an article that like auto body technicians are, in high demand. Yep. Same with aviation maintenance and stuff. And it takes some specialized training to do some of these jobs. Yep. I know the welding was a big thing. I assume it still is. I haven't really looked at anything in a while on that.
I would assume it is. I mean, most of those like sort of blue collar, good paying jobs, they're still out there. Yeah. It's just, they have trouble getting the right population to sort of embrace that. I don't know if that's because, a lot of kids want to be reality TV stars, or I don't know what it is. And, I look back and, turning 40 recently, and I kind of think like, well, what's wrong with those kids? And I look back and I'm like, well, like I was kind of an idiot back then too. So,
That's Nic's best analogy of the day so far.
There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
So I know we talk a lot about growth. It's in the paper. We see a lot. People, we love to tout the wins, and I think we all know in economic development, getting at bats is hugely important. Yep. Because you may land 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50 of these projects that come across your plate because there's so many moving parts that you've got to get all teed up.
It's like 1 out of 1,000.
Okay, well, yeah. I was being optimistic. You guys are really good at what you do.
Yeah. So no, batting averages aren't that good in the profession.
So it's getting a lot of at bats.
Yep.
But within that, the folks that live here, where are we striking the balance between development and quality of life?
Yep.
Because it's always a conversation. We want more tax revenue, we want more job growth, things like that. But for that, are we sacrificing, I have an ag background, so, the farmland conversation is well apparent to me.
Yep.
How are we striking a balance there? I know you've talked a little bit about the city living within its means, and we have talked a lot of times about, good quality, sustainable growth that's well planned. I mean, it's easy to get wild and start overwhelm your infrastructure. Your highways can't handle the traffic. Yep. Your water, sewer, electric just can't handle it. So how do you balance that?
So, I mean, we could throw out all the kind of buzzwords, and I mean, and smart growth is sort of a buzzword, right? But I think what it really comes down to is, sort of how are you going to live within your means? How are you going to balance the existing residents with an overwhelming population of people who are trying to buy their first house, send their kids to school, make a life for themselves? And I mean, what we've seen in this century is a lot of people are moving from the agricultural base and they're moving to cities. And that's not a Delaware thing, Ohio thing. That's a global thing. And so with everyone finding these sort of economies of scale of living closer together, how do you sort of do that in a smart way? And my opinion is you kind of densify it. And then if you can densify the living and make it sort of convenient for everyone regarding their transportation, how they work, live, and play, then you're actually preserving more green space for the sort of, other uses. And whether that's quality of life or parks, or whether that's, agriculture for food, is just sort of contingent upon what's going on. I will say in this area, because there's so much growth, we talk to, what's funny is that farmers are the one who gets this the most, because, they have kids that have gone off to college a lot of times, and they're looking for succession planning for who's going to take over the farm. And they're looking around and, they have a kid who has a biology degree that, wants to go work for a pharmaceutical company. They have a kid who majored in computer science, and they want to go do that. So it's very hard to kind of figure out who's going to take over the farm. And then, you're in a sort of overwhelmingly fast sort of growing area, and it kind of it hits them the realization a lot quicker than it does, the people who maybe sit on a quarter acre or an acre lot and, enjoy the kind of what we would say like sort of country, sort of suburban living. And then you have to, these are difficult conversations, but then it comes down to property rights. You own property. You should be able to utilize it as you wish, with minimal government interference. And if your choice is to sell it to a big box user or an industrial user or someone who wants to build homes or multifamily, then I hate to say it like this exactly, but you should be able to have that conversation without a lot of noise from outsiders. And, we have a really talented, trained staff. Our planning department is awesome. Our engineering department is awesome. Utility department is awesome. Our development sort of team really kind of gets this. And so when we're talking to a developer who's going to bring in, 200 acres or something like that, we're talking to them, hey, where are we preserving the green space? Hey, do you know this is an old forest that's over here, so that needs to be preserved. And I would say 9 times out of 10, the developer goes, well, yeah, we want green space. We want to preserve that because we want to build a little trail through there. And so it's always going to be this sort of balance between what exists today and then sort of prepping for what's coming in the future, and then sort of molding whatever is coming in the future to sort of be able to gel with what's existing today. And it's always going to be a clash, but I mean, it's change. So it's difficult.
Probably one of the challenges, Delaware County to me is an amazing place, and a lot of amazing people, and the amenities are incredible. So it's only natural, right, that people would want to gravitate towards that. Delaware, the city of Delaware is awesome, great downtown and community. Of course, other people are going to want to move there and, partake of that. So, striking that balance is always a challenge. And we certainly appreciate, the role you all play in trying to find that balance, because I know it's not easy, and
it's not fun, and a lot of times I'll read like Facebook comments and they're like, well, why aren't they doing this? And, one of the developments we're talking about right now is, the question is, well, why can't that land be a school? And I want to tear my hair out, because I'm like, we're working with the developer to preserve land for a school, but then that doesn't get portrayed. And so it's, the thought that government doesn't know what they're doing it's kind of silly, because we're usually those people's neighbors. We shop at the same stores. We go to the same bars and restaurants. And we usually have the same sort of thought process for, development coming in, because, we live here too. And so
Sure.
that's a lot of it. And that's what kind of gets a little irritating or cumbersome, is like this idea that these future developments haven't been vetted properly or whatever. It's, we're usually harder on developers than I would say others are. That is one really nice thing about having a community that's growing, where people want to be, is that when they come in, we kind of get to do a little bit of what you would call it. If you're going into a nightclub or something and you have the doorman, we get to say, hey, yeah, you need to take your hat off, and you can't wear that in here. Go back around and come back, and then you
Sure.
can come in properly or whatever. And because we are sort of a rising community, we get to do that. So we actually get to vet these things and make sure that they're kind of proper before they get all of their entitlements and come into the city.
Sure. Well, I guess along those lines, we've talked a little bit about the historic downtown in Delaware, which I've been a huge proponent of that. You've got an area that's very picturesque, small town USA kind of thing.
Norman Rockwell.
All the buildings are,
Yep.
have been built 100 years ago, and it's almost impossible to recreate that. And Delaware City has got a huge stretch of that really amazing historic downtown.
Mm-hmm.
What we see in a lot of those is a lot of small business, a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, Wesleyan's got an entrepreneur center to help, launching small business. How does that figure into the overall economic development conversation?
Yeah. So small businesses, I mean, there's all kind of platitudes you could say, like that they're the backbone and all that. But I mean, without our small business and our downtown community, I don't really think anything else is possible within the city. That's where a lot of the ideas are generated. That's where a lot of the commerce happens. And if you were to break down from just a tax impact sort of value component of those like 20 acres, which downtown's really small, it feels big because it's very active and, vibrant. But if you were to break down those 20 acres, I think you'd find that by far that per acre, that area is 100 times more valuable than any other place in the city. And that includes, our traditional commercial shopping centers. That includes our industrial park. It's that downtown. And I think if you take that away, then suddenly you're looking at, okay, everyone in the industrial park really liked working here because, it's close to downtown. It's 6 minutes away. They enjoy these vibes, whatever you want to call it. The commercial shopping center, without that, I think that they probably don't want to be located there. So to kind of have that, I don't know what you want to call it, like sort of cultural core. I just don't think Delaware I call it like kind of the heart of Delaware. The body doesn't function without the heart.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I guess, again, along those lines, where does, something near and dear to my heart is where does tourism figure in this greater economic development conversation? Delaware County as a whole has a massive tourism economy. And we love to see all the activity that goes on in downtown Delaware that makes it unique. That's something, that we have that we can, attract additional people to our community to enjoy those events. And it's something you can't find elsewhere. And like, how does that all fit into the downtown scheme and into the city as overall?
It's huge. So, I mean, the 60 or so events that Main Street puts on every year, getting people downtown, whether that's to shop, dine, hang out, or just whatever it is. I mean, it's massive. So just in those like 4 sort of square blocks, we get more unique visitors there per year than Tanger Outlets does, which is, an area that was designed specifically to get visitors to come and shop. And we just kind of have it there. So, tourism is really important because you're looking at, from an economic development kind of perspective, you're looking at people coming into the community. First of all, they're becoming familiar with it. So there's a chance that they might be moving there. And, oh, hey, honey, there's a job offer in Delaware. Oh, that's the place that we went to the first Friday and, met Tim. And Tim told us the place is so great, whatever.
It's my job.
That's your job. And well, yeah, hey, we should go look at that, and move there. So there's that. So it's the recognition of it. And then from just a spending dynamics, county relies on sales tax, city relies on income tax, then there's property tax. So when someone comes in and shops, they're helping, support a business that pays an employee. The city gets that. They're buying a product, the sales tax that goes to the county. And it's all coming from sort of outside of the community. So it's massive. To have visitors is huge.
Absolutely. I know, working with Main Street, and then, they launched this Late Night Delaware.
Yeah.
These events, which have been great to bring in, again, these unique activities is what, for us, we can really get behind and brings people in the community. We love to see the spend from out of town and bring their money in from another community and spend it here, and we can realize those revenues. Super exciting from that standpoint. So
we just need to get a hotel downtown now. That's the next step. So
I'll second that one. Amen.
Yep.
One thing I know, with such a large tourism economy, a challenge for us has been creating synergy amongst those areas. We have very distinct areas, as you mentioned. You have Tanger in the Sunbury Square. It's really cool area.
Yeah.
But then you go down onto Polaris Parkway, all from Westerville all the way to Shawnee Hills. There's all kinds of things to do.
Yep.
Exciting, but and then we have our lakes and our recreation in the middle. It's it's set up amazing, but there's some travel time there. The city of Powell, and they have a historic downtown as well. But finding synergy amongst all of that, so that we can welcome those folks in, and we want people to stay longer. Obviously, the numbers support the longer they're here, the more they spend. I think Las Vegas figured that out a long time ago.
Yep.
And how do we moving forward find more synergy to support the historic downtown, but then the city of Delaware in general? You've got some other pockets of really cool things to do.
Yep.
And I guess finding that synergy when we're kind of spread out.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the difficulty. A lot of it is just sort of strategic communications between the various entities who are doing this and that. I think it's kind of akin to two neighbors are throwing house parties and they're inviting the same guest, and then they wonder why only 50% showed up. Well, it's because you guys didn't communicate with each other. So I think that's part of it. And then, sort of different, nonprofits, cities, townships, groups kind of getting over, I'm in economic development. So like I'm competitive with all of our rivals, right? But you want to see them succeed. But so I think part of it is sort of knocking down those barriers so that we all understand that we're all on like one team and, or one Delaware sort of vibe to it, right?
We're all rowing the same boat.
Rowing the same boat. That's right. And we're all going to get wins. I mean, this group might get one win this week, another one will get one the next week. And the thing is that people have to realize that your win is predicated on other wins. And so if everyone isn't winning, I'm like Joe Pemberton at this point, like winning, right? But if everyone's winning, then eventually you're going to get a win too. And so how do we kind of create that, I don't know what you want to call it, synergy, I guess. I hate that word, but yeah, synergy. Yeah,
it's a little overused.
Yeah.
But I mean, you mentioned it earlier, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
And, the wins within the county, are certainly going to help, all the communities to some extent. And, again, from our standpoint as a tourism perspective, we want to see, the length of stay increase. And there's so much to do. And it's just, there are times it can be a challenge to, because it is such a big geographic area, it can be challenging to get the word out to like, hey, you can literally spend a weekend here at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium.
Yeah.
With all the things that they've added. We have the Polaris Parkway and then all the history side of it, in a historic downtown Delaware. You've got the Sunbury Square, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You've got the Veterans Memorial out there and things. So there's a lot going on. And obviously, the centerpiece of that, Allen Creek and Delaware Lake and Hoover Reservoir and O'Shaughnessy reservoirs, that if they want to partake in the outdoors, they can do that.
It's almost like you fish a lot or something.
Well, people ask me all the time about the fishing trail, and I'm like, what does that mean? And, Delaware County maintains it's got the most shoreline miles of any county in the state of Ohio.
Including in beating the state of Delaware, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So.
Well, we beat the state of Delaware in tourism revenue, if I remember that correctly. And
that's crazy.
They also asked me about what does the DLZ podcast mean? And I was like, well, we wanted something to name this podcast that just encompasses everything that's new and exciting and about Delaware. And DLZ is the Delaware County's or Delaware City's airport identifier.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's why we thought, that's cool. Cause airports and travel tourism go together.
Yeah.
And I think we just scratched the surface with the opportunities at the Delaware airport.
5,800 linear feet, capable of handling pretty large jets, I'd say.
Yeah.
Right there, interconnected to Sawmill Parkway and 42, both of which are underutilized. You can be in downtown Columbus in 25, 30 minutes. I mean, it's probably better than going to John Glenn. if you can afford it.
For someone who flies
Not
very
like
small aircraft, I will say yes. John Glenn is not the greatest place to fly.
It's pretty good. But
Well, no, I'm saying from a small.
yeah.
If you're flying a Cessna or a Piper, you're in line with 737s. It's not always the greatest place to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, Delaware City Airport is very welcoming, and it's big and it's well run, and we appreciate what all they do out there. And we look forward to seeing someday we're going to put that Delaware International Airport sign out in front of that place, right?
Yeah. We have to change this to DIA.
I don't know. Maybe we'll just keep DLZ at that point because it'll be such a name brand at that point. No one will know the difference. So
It'll be good.
Absolutely. Well, I guess what do you have a project or an initiative going right now that maybe the community isn't really aware of? Obviously, we're not asking for anything NDA or confidential, but there's so much going on. I think it's hard. I mean, I'm in the mix a lot, and it's hard for me to keep up with all the things going on.
Yeah. So, I'll cover shopping and then sort of retail. And so, I mean, on our east side of town off 3637 over by Meyer, we have a pretty robust big box users. And so I think that area is just going to kind of expand and be our sort of premier, new shopping corridor. We are looking at bringing some pretty nice hotels downtown, which I think is needed and has been needed for probably 20 years. The industrial park, the PPG expansion was announced, which is huge. Mm-hmm. They are the founding member of that park, and for them to just keep growing, we just need to keep feeding them so they can just keep expanding. The airport, I think, here in the next few years, we'll probably be able to put together something that'll be pretty cool. And then, I don't think it's a secret, right? The AAA Ohio Blue Jackets have rezoned a piece of property just below the airport next to the sort of industrial park expansion. And they're looking to build a 4-rink hockey arena, which would be the biggest sort of piece of ice in about a 4 or 5 or 6 hour radius. So we're going to have people traveling from all over the place to come here and ultimately, shop and dine and stay. So that's definitely exciting. I mean,
huge
for me. Yeah.
Well, club sports we know is big business, the traveling teams and whatnot. We've got, Jennings Sports Park at Evans Farm. Lots of fields. The Big Air at Polaris does volleyball tournaments and things. And I mean, it's like every weekend. And, kudos to the parents that are willing to.
Yeah, kudos to them.
commit to hauling their kids around. But I mean, this is 4 sheets of ice that are going to be able to play.
So it's slated to be 3 indoor rinks and then an outdoor rink.
Okay.
That would be applicable during the wintertime. So kind of like a winter on ice sort of kind of theme. So
awesome.
You might see me out there figure skating.
That will be video worthy when Nick's doing a triple Lutz or something.
Triple axle.
Triple axle.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm down. Right. I'm not down on my figure skating terminology, I guess.
Would it be funny if I could do that?
That would be.
If I wasn't lying just through my teeth right now, and I just came out and
that video would go viral. I have no doubt. No doubt. So I guess we're getting closer to the end here, but what are some of the biggest challenges you guys are seeing from your standpoint?
Yeah. So infrastructure is always hard.
When you say infrastructure, you're talking like water, sewer,
roads. I mean,
fiber, I guess.
Fiber, maintaining it is difficult. You throw, electric into there as well. But maintaining infrastructure is very difficult. So that's just keeping pace with what's here. But then, kind of planning for the future and the sort of growth that, is either being attracted by us or pushed upon us. It's definitely, difficult. I always like to harken back to, back when I was in Indiana, we were trying to build a sluice gate for a flood wall. And pre-pandemic, it was scheduled to be like $1.2 million. And then afterwards, it's $3 million. And we're talking a span of 3 years. So, with those kind of costs that are going up, whether because of, the sort of international oil crises or just trying to find steel, it's hard for cities or just government entities in general to keep up with the pace that's needed. So that's always going to be a problem. We're even if we were to get our income tax passed, which, it's hard because people are, inflation's gone up. People are cash strapped. They don't want to pay more in income tax. Nobody does. But I think what we'll find is that, it's going to be hard to maintain roads for a really long time. And then as we need to expand, we're going to have to ask for more money from the states. The state's pushing us to get more site ready, sites ready for businesses to come in. Well, we could do that if we had the money to put the infrastructure in. And so without having that, it's kind of hard, and to encumber existing city funds to pay for, what citizens might look at as speculative expansion is tricky. So I won't say like money cures all, but, it definitely helps. Right. So I think that's part of it. Another thing is we're very reliant on income tax. So we talked about AI happening, and this is something like 5-10 years in the future, I think. It's happening now, but I think the actual impact of it. So, what happens when, an industrial facility decides and looks at their labor and then looks at what a new, machine robot costs that does relatively the same work? Well, that robot doesn't file a W-2. So, or doesn't receive a W-2. So I don't, that's one thing. And then, the discussion of getting rid of property taxes. Property taxes are high. They're high everywhere, but they are a little higher here, you could say. But getting rid of or abolishing them is ludicrous, because if that happens, pretty much every single city in Ohio is going to be suing the state legislature, because all of their bonds that they issue that are backed by property taxes are going to default. So they would be getting sued by the bondholder, then the city would be suing the state for abolishing them. So that's, kind of nightmarish scenario. But overall, those aren't things that keep me up at night. Overall, I think we're pretty well set for the future of where we're at. Cities go through sort of standard growth trajectories. Right now, you can kind of follow the evolution of different cities based on like when were they started, when did they peak, when did the population loss happen. Like Detroit used to be like the second biggest city and second wealthiest city, or maybe the wealthiest city in the United States. Last year is the first year in I think 30, 40 years that they actually had a population increase. So you can kind of follow these other cities in the area to kind of figure out where you're at in this sort of evolutionary pattern. And I say, looking at the sort of traditional sort of ring suburbs around here, we're about 15 years behind where Dublin was. So we're going to be there. And our demographics are actually showing that right now, where we look at our demographics, and I think we're a lot more affluent than people think we are. We actually rank, and you compare decent downtowns in the Columbus area, we rank in the top 2 or 3 as far as demographics go. And so sometimes the demographics just take a little time to catch up to actual results on the ground.
Sure.
This is why I'm getting all these calls from out-of-state developers, because they have all of their market research, and they have all these little census tracts that pop up. And when our census tracts start popping up green and start looking a lot better than our competing market areas, that's when they start calling. And that's kind of what I've been fielding in the past 3 or 4 months of just, hey, tell us about Delaware. I'm like, where are you guys from? And they're like, well, we're in Chicago. We're trying to figure this out, and we really want to come down and fly to see you. And well, yeah, we'll definitely meet, and we'll show you some sites around. And it's a little bizarre, because then I can't get some of the developers in Columbus to take that kind of charge, you know. So it's interesting. It's a little odd.
Just a little, yeah. I guess being a lifelong resident in the Columbus metro area, we've come a long way. This community is almost unrecognizable from the days of Lazarus downtown with the Christmas tree on the roof. Yep. We all used to remember it. You could see from 20 miles away, which now, I mean, the downtown has grown up significantly, and same with around 270. You know, there's always challenges, traffic and infrastructure, as we've already discussed. It's amazing renovation they're doing at John Glenn, Port Columbus. Just, I mean, it's a huge, but I think it was desperately needed.
Yep.
It's, you know, this community is really, you know, Columbus Metro is really coming into its own as, you know, I think we were, for the longest time, I remember it was Cincinnati, Cleveland, and then, Columbus, forget about them. Well, you know, now Columbus is premier, right?
If you take away the growth of the Columbus metropolitan area from Ohio, and let's just say that was just stabilized and neutralized, then Ohio is technically declining in population. So it's without Columbus as its core, Ohio doesn't look as good on the map for, you know, the sort of demographic comparisons. I'm a demographic nerd, so
hey, I love it. Yeah, I mean, to me that's you know, the numbers don't lie. That's awesome to get that out there.
And that's nothing against Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, Akron, you know, Toledo, but it's like Columbus is growing, and what it means is that, you know, it's just kind of our time to shine,
right?
And if we don't seize that and take advantage of it to do the right things and have the right kind of growth, then really you're going to regret that. And it won't be us, it'll be our kids and their kids, because the other areas will grow, or there'll be, you know, different shifts and things like that.
So I know you've only been here in this role from 2 years, and you came in from Virginia, but, you know, the City of Delaware has been on this incredible rise for, you know, 20, 25 years now. And, I mean, from your perspective, I guess let's just say somebody that hasn't been back for a couple of years, you know, what would they see now that's like, wow, this is still pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would still be surprised by how good the downtown is, how busy it is on like a 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, which is still nuts to me. Hopefully, and I think we'll have some pretty big attractions coming on in the Southwest. So I think that's also sort of mind-boggling. And then hopefully within the next year or two, we do have a nice hotel coming out of the ground. And that's kind of the thing with me being only here for 2 years. You know, these things most of them take a decade, really. So right now I'm just planting these seeds, and you can't see it because you can't see it coming out of the ground yet, but the roots are taking form.
Right.
My fiance is gardening right now, so analogies.
You've got the garden analogies.
Got the gardening analogies, yes. So we've gone from talking about kids going through puberty to house parties to now gardening. So yeah. But anyway,
we'll have
the root structure is taking place. The root structure is taking place. So as once that starts to bud and come up, then we'll see it. But it does take that time. You know, you have to have your ideation process with development. You have to go and get land under contract. And in my case, I have to partner with developers. Usually there's some kind of public incentive that needs to be put in place. So I have to go and talk to school districts. Sometimes I talk to the county. And then ultimately you have to put together a team to make these things happen. And, you know, it's a tripod. One of the legs kicks off, the whole thing's fall. So you just kind of have to sort of keep everyone involved and make sure it's moving in the right direction. So, but they're taking root, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know we've been working on this hotel thing in downtown since I got here in 2019. Yeah. So I know things move slowly sometimes, but it takes that kind of diligence, and it takes a long time for these projects to come to fruition. So
it does.
Kudos to everybody at the city, from the mayor, Paul, and city manager and his team, all doing great stuff over there. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, and I'd like to give, a shout out to Sean Hughes, for sure. Because, I mean, he worked on a lot of these things, and it was kind of easy to pick up and say, okay, you know, I have my team here. Here's the old coach's playbook. And I go through and say, these are pretty good. So big shout out to him for helping with a lot, sort of kind of.
Sean Hughes, for those that don't know, was the City of Delaware's Economic Development Director, who is now the City of Powell's Economic Development Director. So, yeah, he's still in county, so he's still making great things happen, but just a little further south. But, you know, I think having, you know, all you guys in, you know, strong people in these roles is making such a huge difference, you know, and bringing these projects to fruition and quite honestly, just improving the quality of life for everybody here in Delaware County. It's amazing to watch, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. You know, I know tourism isn't exactly in your wheelhouse, but it is economic development in its own right. So.
It definitely is, but you're here, so I don't have to do it. So it's nice. Yeah.
It's all good, man. I'm happy to do it. I get to fish. So what can I say?
That's right. That's good.
Well, Nick, thank you. Any other shout outs you want to give?
No, I mean, you know, we're talking about people who really kind of put things together. So, I mean, Gus Comstock, when he was here, I mean, he definitely did a lot of stuff in the industrial park as well.
Gus is now up at Marion.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is kind of the mindset, is that you're kind of building, you know, you're building this for the next people to take over. And so I hope to be here a long time, but, you know, at some point in time, I won't be able for someone to say, wow, I'm really glad that hotel's there. And, oh, wow, I'm really glad that this asset's over there. And now I can use that to build this next thing. And so they all just kind of feed off of each other. Yeah,
it was always you know, when you watch an industrial park come along or a commercial park come along, it was always like it sat there for years, a decade, something, whatever. And finally you see dirt turning and somebody's going to take the chance and be the first in. And then all of a sudden, you know, you see other projects popping up.
Yep. It's always the first mouse in the mousetrap does not get the cheese. And so that's everyone's hesitant about it. I got analogies today, man.
We're going to do a highlight reel with Nick analogies, man. Yeah. There's been some dandies today. Yeah. So no, we appreciate it. We appreciate you taking time to come in and talk to us.
Of course.
And again, a lot of exciting things going on in the community, and everybody gets a gift for coming in on the show. We appreciate you taking time. I know you've got a busy schedule.
Is it bourbon?
But, well, you can decide that later, but everybody gets their very own little brown jug for being on the podcast. Obviously something very it's quintessential Delaware County. And
thank you.
The fairgrounds happen to be just on the north side of Delaware City, which is where the little brown jug is held every September. So again, you're now official. You got your little brown jug. If you want to fill that with whatever you want to fill it, go ahead.
I won't tell you what I'm going to fill it with. I won't tell you. We'll keep it a mystery, which is why it was, you know, that's why it's like this.
Right.
You don't know what's in it.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So, all right. Well, again, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you, your partnership, and doing this, and you're a real asset in the community. So
appreciate that.
I haven't met a single person that speaks negatively about you, and I've asked too. It's like, can you say something bad about him? They're like, I won't do it. Like, okay,
I won't do it. Yeah,
I won't do it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Again, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. Another great conversation on the DLZ podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content so that we can get the word out to everybody that feels passionately about Delaware County like we do. So until next time, we'll see you around the county.